There's nothing better than a cozy flannel quilt for warmth.
The quilt today features one very simple block that plays wonderfully with a thicker flannel.
And we'll talk you through straight line quilting as an achievable and lovely alternative to Stitch in the Ditch.
Join us for a warm, snuggly episode of Love of Quilting. You're watching the 4300 series of Love of Quilting. I'm Angela Huffman.
And I'm Sarah Gallegos.
And Sarah has brought a snuggly warm quilt to work on today.
Yeah, I really like this. I was noticing that I've worked with a lot of flannel this time around. It's like lots of cozy little fall quilts. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize it was flannel because when I looked at it, I thought maybe it was wool. It has a dimension that I hadn't seen before.
It's soft like flannel and it's textured like wool. And I think that flannels have come such a long way because when I first started, all the flannels were printed on one side, maybe not as soft and cozy, really had to pre-wash them because they shrunk a lot. And now I'm finding that there are all these beautifully woven flannels. And what I like about this is it's the same right side and wrong side, front and back. So you don't have to worry about if you flip one over as you're stitching.
So nice.
Yeah, and doesn't tend to bleed or shrink a ton. So I did not pre-wash these. I'll just kind of wash it and it gets all cozy when I'm ready to use the quilt.
Well, and sometimes when it shrinks up like that, it has that cozy texture that you really want it to have as it drapes over you on the couch.
Absolutely, yes. And this original quilt was very scrappy. It had all different greens and reds and creams. And I decided just to kind of stick with a more simple palette. And what's kind of fun about this is it's only one block that makes all this movement throughout the quilt. Now, I did use this exact same flannel here on the quilt behind us in the borders where I played with a whole bunch of different textures. So it is a little scrappy and that I did have it left over, but just couldn't get enough of it. I guess I had to make two quilts out of it.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Okay, so we're gonna just kind of move this out of the way for a sec and talk about the block.
Yeah, I love that it's one block doing all that hard work.
Yes, one's very simple block, really. 4-patch and then some half square triangle magic there. And it all starts with this 4-patch. We're gonna do a strip set. So we will go ahead and cut 2 of our fabrics for that strip set. And what I did when I was cutting mine was I just kind of layered them right sides together if there is a right side. And that way, when it comes off of my ruler, I am ready just to take it right to the sewing machine to start sewing. So I'm just gonna kind of stack those up and we'll start with a little cleanup cut on the side. Now this flannel wants to really stick to itself, which is beneficial for sewing.
Yeah.
And then with smaller workspaces, I don't oftentimes mind to just fold it in half and give myself a little extra space. Now, I'm going to use the markings on the ruler versus the markings on the mat. So we're gonna do our first little cleanup cut here, just to get rid of the scrap. Then I'm gonna flip this over carefully. And now I'm going to use the markings on the ruler to cut the strip. I think that especially as your mats get older, you're going to have the most precision if you use the ruler lines versus the mat lines because they tend to get a little bit distorted as the ruler keeps cutting through them. So here we've got our nice 2.5-inch strip and you can just stitch right down.
All right. And since it's flannel, it's sticking together, so I don't need a pen.
Right.
And just a 1/4-inch seam, Sarah?
Basic 1/4-inch seam, you got it.
You know what else will make the lines on the mat kind of wander?
What's that?
If you leave it in the car in the summertime.
I did that.
Have you done that? I've done it too.
With my biggest, best mat. I think I took it to a guild or a class or something and it warped with the sunlight.
Yeah.
I really felt like a ninny.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rookie error. In fact, I noticed on this mat there's actually a label that says no sunlight.
Right.
It also says not to roll it.
The heat will kind of help it distort a bit.
It's plastic, right? Okay, so now we are going to press that.
And you've got 2 kind of dark colors, so how do you decide which direction you're going to press the seam? Because you're going to press it towards one of these colors.
That's an excellent question. So I think that you really just want to be consistent, regardless of which way you do it. So when it came time to work on the half square triangles, I did press toward their darks. And on the strip sets, I pressed toward the green, it looks like, but just stay consistent. And then when you sew the blocks together, you can actually kind of rotate them to make it work. So the name of the game here is doing it the same all throughout.
Yeah. And in looking at the fabric, it has this flannel has a lot of flecks of really hot colors. There's like
Yeah.
hot pink and there's a hot turquoise in there. Did you have any thoughts about mixing it with kind of brighter colors?
It gives you a lot of variation, and you might even notice if you look at the quilt behind us there, that is my little frayed fanfare, I believe it's called. And there are a lot more colors in that quilt, and they really pull from the speckles in the burgundy flannel. But there are so many different things that you can play with flannel. You aren't stuck with flannel to flannel. We can definitely mix it up and use, a linen or a textured blend or even a batik if you feel like it.